So this movie is basically just an apology letter for the first Nun movie, down to the point where they have a scene of like a lady explaining what happened, like beat for beat in the first movie. She might as well look at the camera and go, I know that you probably didn't rewatch the first Nun movie in preparation for this, so I'm gonna help you out because it's story-wise pretty important. So just like, here's what happened. And if you do remember, just like sit back. You can tune out. You can go pee. Do you want to go pee? Just go pee. This video won't have a ton of spoilers, but there's a couple of things that I'm going to touch on that are from later in the movie, so just a heads up, if you're really worried about it, come back to this video after you've seen the movie. Let's get started. Overall, I would say The Nun 2 is pretty good. It's a lot better than the first one. It's like leaps and bounds better than the first one. Not a super high bar, but it's definitely not like top tier Conjuring or even close. I think that this achieves a lot of the things the first Nun was trying to do, but it also kind of has all the same pitfalls, which is a little frustrating. They announced this movie and everybody's thought was like, but you beefed it so hard on the first one. Do you want to do that again? And then it came out and a little bit they did. I don't want to be too hard on this movie. Honestly, I liked it. The scares were good. The characters were reasonably well developed. Some of the writing was just terrible. I mean, just truly horrible. But it's kind of funny for that. Like I didn't hate that about it. I think at this point in the Conjuring franchise, you kind of know. Like you know if you like these movies, you know if they're for you. I would say they're sort of for me. I would say they're kind of for me. I don't think they're incredible, especially not the spin-offs. The original, like the core Conjuring movies, I think are great. They're really solid horror movies. And then all the spin-offs are varying levels. There's a couple that are, I think, really great. And then most of them are just like, ugh. This fits somewhere in between. I think it's smart that they didn't put this movie out, in October, right in the like spooky Halloween time. This is a good palate cleanser from whatever you were watching to now starting to get back into horror. This is a good starter for the season though. Like it's got some good imagery and some really creepy moments, some solid scares. Like I don't think you'll be really disappointed in this, but I also don't think it's like gonna be amazing. I think early reactions, they said that it was like, wow, this is like really gonna shake up the Conjuring franchise. It does not. It does nothing for the Conjuring franchise. If you're looking for anything outside of just kind of auxiliary lore about Valak, you're not, this isn't it. This isn't gonna be the one you're looking for. Me personally, I found the movie pretty engaging. I think the concept of this true believer and this skeptic coming together and investigating these potentially demonic murders, solid. And it's a good follow-up to the first movie, I will say. The things that worked about the first movie, this also follows up on. It's just more of the first, but a little bit better. So if you're like, the first was terrible, why would I ever watch more? I promise you this movie is not going to convince you that you were wrong about that. But if you're open to it and you kind of liked the first one or saw some potential there, I think this works a lot better, and I'd say it's worth watching on that front. The biggest thing about this movie to me that I just was left a little disappointed by is that it just feels kind of empty. The announcement of a sequel to a prequel that isn't a sequel to the original, but it's like somewhere an in-between-quel. To me, that would signify, hey, we've got like a story that we really need to tell, something important. And I guess a lot of this movie felt like what I can only assume people who aren't super invested in the MCU feel like when they're watching their like Marvel Disney Plus shows. So much of this movie just feels burdened by the need to justify itself in some way, which it did, because it's a completely ridiculous thing to make a sequel to a prequel. Like I can't be clearer about that. It did need to justify itself, but it's trying way too hard and it has not a lot to really justify. I feel like I'm being super mean to this movie, and I don't mean to. Like, I don't want to focus too hard on the negatives. There's a lot of really good things. There's just so many things that kind of confused me, and the good things are true of pretty much any Conjuring movie, so there's nothing really in this movie that's surprising to me on a franchise level. It essentially has the same general plotline as La Llorona, and the first Nun, and now this one, and a little bit Annabelle. If you told me they took the script for the first Nun and the script for La Llorona, and then put that in like an AI chat GPT kind of situation with some semblance of biblical relevance, and then just like printed out this script, I would fully believe you. I would not question that for a single second. Part of what lends that feeling is the script doesn't seem to trust the audience. Like, it sets up some really, honestly, kind of interesting themes and like motifs and visual elements that I think are playing really well. And at first you're kind of like trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and then they give you some more clues, and then you put it together, and then like 20 minutes later, there's a scene where somebody again sort of looks at the camera and goes like, it's this thing, and you're like, yeah, we knew that. I just don't see why you would need to tell us that when you're showing it pretty adequately, honestly. Either way, The Nun 2, I think it's a solid entry. It's a solid Conjuring franchise kind of movie. Doesn't feel like the original Conjuring movies, but it doesn't feel like the worst of the spin-off movies either. I'd say it's worth watching if you're really into horror or very, very into the Conjuring franchise. Outside of that, I don't know. Your mileage is going to vary with it. I think it's decent, but I'm not telling anybody to like run out to the theater to see it. I think once it hits HBO, pop it on. It's worth a watch. It's a good time. Thank you for watching this video and checking out my channel. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on movies, comics, TV shows, I don't know, just like fish. Do you want to hear my thoughts on fish? If you would, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment down below what you'd like me to review next, or what your favorite Conjuring franchise movie is. Or do none of that, because I am not your dad. Oh, fuck, shoot. Okay, one more thing. I have a comic on my website, www.johnbonart.com. It's a free comic. It's called Edge of Bordertown. I'm 8 or 9 pages into the first issue, so it's like just starting. Pop on, read that. Hopefully you like it. Let me know also what you think. I'll be uploading pages just sort of as they finish, and then we'll, yeah. So there's my plug. Did you like The Nun? I don't know. Am I crazy? Is this like a great movie? Do you guys love this movie?